Imagine this with me for a moment. You sit down for lunch, believing that what you are eating is enough to keep your body strong, your mind sharp, and your energy steady. But what if I told you that the very choice you make at midday could determine whether you walk with vigor in your 70s, whether you feel confident in your masculinity in your 80s, or whether fatigue, weakness, and fragility slowly begin to steal those years from you? My name is Dr. Helena Moura. I am a urologist with decades of experience helping men navigate the challenges of aging, vitality, and virility. And today, I need to speak to you man to man, but with the heart of a physician who deeply cares. What you put on your plate for lunch may be either your silent medicine or your hidden poison. Let me ask you something personal. Have you noticed your muscles shrinking, your strength declining, or that energy you once carried so effortlessly now slipping away? Maybe you catch yourself avoiding stairs, struggling with bags of groceries, or even losing confidence in the intimacy of your marriage. These are not just signs of getting older. They are warning lights, flashing red, telling you that your body is starving for something it desperately needs. And here's the shocking truth. Most men over 60 are unknowingly eating lunches that accelerate their decline. They choose what is quick, what is easy, what is familiar. But those foods rob the body of the very fuel it needs to stay strong, sexually confident, and full of life. The tragedy? Many of these men believe they are eating healthy enough. They believe that simply filling their stomach means they are doing what's right for their body. But the science says otherwise. Now imagine another scenario. Imagine you choose differently. One powerful food at lunch that feeds your muscles, stabilizes your hormones, sharpens your mind, and protects your heart. Imagine walking into your 70s with firm steps, your 80s with confidence, and even in your 90s still feeling the vitality of a man who refuses to fade away. That is not a fantasy. It is the result of a deliberate choice. And it begins with the protein you put on your plate. I've seen men in my clinic who were once convinced their decline was inevitable. They told me, "Doctor, I just don't have the same strength anymore. It must be age." But after just a few weeks of adjusting what they ate for lunch, they returned to my office with eyes wide open, shocked at how much more energy they had, how much more resilient their bodies felt. One man even told me his wife noticed the difference before he did. That is the power of eating the right protein at the right time. But here's the dangerous part. If you ignore this, if you think this doesn't apply to you, your body will not wait. Sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass after 60, creeps in silently. Your testosterone, the very hormone that fuels your masculinity, dips further with each year. Your bones weaken. Your balance falters. And before you know it, what could have been prevented with a simple, intentional meal becomes an irreversible decline. So today, I am not here just to talk about food. I am here to talk about power, about control, about reclaiming the strength that belongs to you as a man. Because you are not destined to fade quietly into weakness. You are not sentenced to fragility. You are meant to stand firm, with vitality, with energy, with dignity. And I am going to show you how one key protein, eaten at the right time of day, can help you do exactly that. But I need you to listen carefully. Because I will also expose the mistakes men over 60 make at lunch every single day. Mistakes that rob them of their energy and rob them of years of life. Mistakes that no one warns you about until it is too late. Stay with me because in the next few minutes you are going to discover what science already knows, but most men ignore. You will see how one small change can set you on a path to strength, virility, and longevity. And at the very end of this video, I will reveal a powerful secret, something I only share with my closest patients, that could completely transform the way you think about food and masculinity. So let me ask you once more, directly as your doctor, when you sit down for lunch tomorrow, will you continue to eat the way you always have, allowing age to rob you of your strength? Or will you take control, make the smarter choice, and start building a future where your 70s, 80s, and beyond are filled with energy, passion, and confidence? The answer is in your hands and on your plate. Now that I have your attention, let me make a promise to you. By the end of this video, you will not only know which protein you should be eating at lunch after 60, but you will also understand why it is the key to preserving your masculinity, your strength, and your vitality for decades to come. I will show you how one powerful choice at midday can change the way your body processes energy, how it can protect your muscles from shrinking, how it can keep your hormones from crashing, and how it can even influence your confidence as a man. And this is not just theory. This is backed by years of medical practice, countless scientific studies, and the lived experiences of men just like you who chose to take control of their health instead of letting time dictate their decline. But here is the most important part. I am not simply going to tell you, eat more protein. That is too vague, and frankly, most advice you hear out there oversimplifies the truth. What I'm going to reveal to you today is the specific type of protein that works best for men over 60, the reason lunch is the most strategic time to eat it, and the mistakes most men make that cancel out its benefits without even realizing it. And here's where the open loop begins. At the end of this video, I will give you one extra piece of information, something that most doctors don't bother to tell their patients, that can multiply the effect of this protein in your body. It is like turning a key in an engine. Without this step, the engine sputters. With it, the full power of your masculinity comes alive. I will hold this secret until the end, because I want you to fully understand the foundation before unlocking the bonus that makes it all work. But before we go deeper, let me be clear. This is not about dieting trends, miracle powders, or expensive supplements. I am not here to sell you a fad. As a doctor, my mission is to empower you with knowledge so you can walk into your kitchen tomorrow, open your fridge, and make a choice that costs less than a cup of coffee, but adds immeasurable value to your health and longevity. I also want you to know this. The changes you are looking for, more strength, better performance, sharper mind, do not require you to become someone else. You don't need to train like an athlete or eat like a bodybuilder. What you need is precision. One small, precise decision each day. One adjustment that will work with your body's natural biology instead of fighting against it. And here's a truth that may shock you. Men who ignore this advice often pay the price in ways they never expected. They come to me complaining of low energy, of diminished intimacy, of feeling less of a man. They tell me they can't play with their grandchildren the way they want to, that they dread walking up hills, that they avoid mirrors because the reflection no longer matches the man they believe they are inside. And each time, when we investigate their habits, one silent enemy appears again and again: poor nutrition at lunch, particularly a lack of the right kind of protein. You see, lunch is not just another meal. For men over 60, it is a turning point in the day. Eat the wrong thing, and your afternoon becomes sluggish, your energy dips, and your muscles continue to waste away silently. Eat the right thing, and your body is fueled with stability, your hormones are supported, and you walk through the afternoon with strength that carries into the evening, into your sleep, and even into your most intimate moments. That is the promise of this video. I will give you the knowledge to transform lunch from a casual habit into a deliberate strategy for longevity. I will show you the food that acts like medicine, the fuel that keeps your masculine fire burning long after 60. And if you stay with me until the very end, you will hear the one secret that most men never discover, a simple step that can amplify everything we discussed today. So stay close. What I am about to share could be the difference between feeling powerless in the face of aging or feeling like the man you were always meant to be, strong, confident, and full of life. And I promise you, once you understand this, you will never look at lunch the same way again. When I speak to you today, I do not speak from theory alone. I have spent more than 25 years in clinics and hospitals, listening to men over 60 describe their struggles, their frustrations, and their hopes. I have seen men who were once athletes, businessmen, workers, and family leaders come to me with lowered eyes, embarrassed to admit that they no longer feel like themselves. And every time I remind them of one thing: you are not alone. We, men above 60, share a unique journey. Our bodies no longer respond the way they did at 40. The mirror sometimes reflects a man who feels older than he truly is inside. The strength that once defined us seems to fade faster than we expect. And with it, sometimes our confidence follows. But as a physician, and as a woman who has dedicated her life to men's health, I can tell you, decline is not destiny. It is not written in stone. It is something we can fight, something we can delay, and, in many cases, something we can reverse. Let me share with you a moment from my clinic. A gentleman, 67 years old, came to me complaining of weakness. He said, "Doctor, I don't understand. I eat every day, I don't skip meals, but I feel tired all afternoon. My wife tells me I've lost weight in my arms and legs. I can't lift the things I used to. He thought this was just old age catching up. But when we looked deeper, his meals were missing the very foundation his body craved: quality protein. After guiding him toward the right choices, just 6 weeks later he returned, smiling like a boy. His strength had begun to return, his energy was steady, and he even joked that his wife was happier too. Stories like his are not rare. They are daily realities in my profession. I see the quiet suffering of men who think it is too late to change. I hear the frustration of those who feel invisible, as if no one told them the truth about what was happening inside their bodies. And that is why I am here, to bridge that gap, to speak with honesty, to give you the knowledge that transforms not only your health, but also your dignity as a man. Now, I want you to trust me not because I wear a white coat, but because I have walked this path with thousands of men before you. I have seen what works and what fails. I have witnessed the power of one dietary change to restore vitality. And I know the weight of silence, the kind of silence men often carry when they are afraid to admit weakness. That silence, my friend, can be broken. And it starts by understanding that your health is not just about numbers on a chart. It is about the life you live, the way you walk, the confidence in your step, and the spark in your eyes. I also want to acknowledge something important. Men over 60 often feel left behind by medicine. Too much advice is targeted at the young, at athletes, at people who have not yet faced the reality of aging. But you deserve guidance tailored to your stage of life, advice that respects your years, your battles, and your future. That is why everything I share with you comes from experience, from scientific knowledge, and from compassion. Because I believe every man deserves the chance to feel strong, even when society whispers that it is too late. You may have heard doctors speak in cold terms, listing diagnoses, prescribing pills without explaining the why. That is not my way. I speak to you as if you were my brother, my father, my lifelong patient. I want you to understand, to feel empowered, to take the knowledge from this video and apply it tomorrow. Because what I reveal here is not just information, it is a lifeline. So when I say that the protein you choose at lunch matters, I say it with the weight of 2 decades of listening, guiding, and healing. I have seen too many men surrender to the idea that aging is a slow, inevitable march into weakness. But I am here to tell you, no. Aging can be met with strategy, with strength, with smart choices. And you, right now listening to me, are capable of making those choices. Let me be very clear. My promise to you is not youth. I cannot turn back the clock. But what I can give you is control. The power to decide how you will age, whether your later years will be marked by fragility or by resilience. And as a doctor, nothing gives me more joy than seeing a man walk into his 70s and 80s still feeling like himself, still proud of his strength, still confident in his masculinity. That is possible. And it begins with choices as simple as what you put on your plate at midday. So let us continue this journey together. Trust me, not just as your doctor in this moment, but as your guide through the path that lies ahead. Because if you give me your attention, I will give you tools that can protect you, empower you, and remind you that being over 60 does not mean being less of a man. It means being wise enough to fight for what keeps you strong. When a man crosses the age of 60, something subtle yet powerful begins to unfold inside his body. It is not always visible at first. You may still feel capable, you may still carry yourself with strength, but beneath the surface, changes are happening every single day. Your muscles, once firm and resilient, begin to shrink in a process called sarcopenia. This is not just a word, it is the gradual theft of your independence. With every passing year, if left unchecked, you can lose up to 1% of your muscle mass. Over a decade, that becomes 10% of the very structure that keeps you standing tall, walking strong, and living with confidence. This is why men after 60 often describe their arms as thinner, their grip as weaker, or their legs as less steady. And when muscle mass disappears, it is not only strength that vanishes. Balance begins to falter. Falls become more likely. Recovery from illness or injury takes longer. In my clinic, I have treated men who came in after something as simple as a fall in the bathroom, and their bodies no longer had the resilience to heal quickly. This is not a matter of fate. It is the result of neglecting what the body truly needs. Another silent change is happening with hormones. Testosterone, the hormone that fuels masculinity, confidence, and even intimacy, naturally declines with age. But for many men, this decline is accelerated by poor nutrition. When the body lacks the raw materials to maintain muscle, it signals the brain to reduce production of hormones. The result? A double blow: weaker muscles and diminished testosterone, leaving you not only physically fragile but emotionally drained, less confident, less alive. Then there is metabolism. Have you noticed that weight seems to appear more easily now? That even when you eat the same portions as before, fat accumulates around the waist, around the belly, the very area that increases risks for heart disease and diabetes? This is not coincidence. After 60, metabolism slows down, and without proper protein intake, the body clings to fat instead of building lean mass. The cruel irony is that the very men who try to eat lighter to stay healthy often deprive themselves of the protein that would actually protect them. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard this phrase. "Doctor, I eat my rice, my bread, my soup. I don't eat too much meat anymore because I thought it was heavy for me." They believed they were doing something good for their health. But what they didn't realize is that by removing or reducing the protein, they were accelerating the very decline they feared. Their lunches filled their stomachs, yes, but starved their muscles. And let us not forget energy. Midday is a critical turning point. For men over 60, the afternoon often feels heavy, marked by fatigue, a need to lie down, or difficulty focusing. This is not simply age, it is the body crying out for stable fuel. Without protein, blood sugar spikes and crashes, leaving you weak, irritable, and unable to perform at your best, whether in daily tasks or in the intimate moments of life. There are deeper risks too. Low protein intake after 60 is directly linked to weaker bones, making fractures more likely. It increases the risk of insulin resistance, paving the way for diabetes. It even compromises immunity, meaning your body struggles to fight infections that once would not have slowed you down. This is why men who ignore this problem often face hospitalizations that could have been prevented. I remember one patient in his early 70s. He came to me after 2 hospital stays in a single year, one for pneumonia, another for a fractured hip. He looked frail, his skin thin, his frame fragile. When I reviewed his eating habits, I realized he rarely consumed protein at lunch. A simple adjustment to his meals, introducing the right protein daily, gave his body the strength to fight back. Months later, he was walking with more stability, his energy improved, and most importantly, he told me, "Doctor, I finally feel like myself again." This is the heart of the problem. Men after 60 are not told how critical protein becomes. They are warned about sugar, about salt, about fat, but rarely about the one nutrient that keeps their body functioning like a man. And so, they unknowingly walk into weakness, thinking it is inevitable. But it is not inevitable. If you take nothing else from this moment, let it be this. The decline you fear, loss of muscle, loss of energy, loss of confidence, is not just aging. It is malnutrition hidden behind the disguise of routine eating. And the good news is, you can change it. You can fight back. You can rebuild. Your body is still capable of growth, of resilience, of strength, even after 60. But it will only give you back what you feed it. And at the center of that is protein. Without it, every other effort falls short. With it, every other aspect of your health improves. Your energy, your hormone balance, your confidence, your longevity. That is why we cannot ignore this problem. Because once you see what is happening inside, once you understand the risks of letting muscle fade and hormones decline, you also begin to see the power you hold to reverse it. And that, my friend, is where your journey toward renewed strength truly begins. Now that you understand the problem, let us step into the solution. Because knowledge without action changes nothing. And I want you to leave this video not only with awareness, but with a plan. Something you can apply as soon as tomorrow at lunch. The first truth I must share with you is that not all proteins are equal. When men hear the word protein, many think of a large steak, or perhaps a protein shake marketed to bodybuilders. But what your body needs after 60 is not the sheer volume of protein, it is the quality of protein. What matters most is the amino acid profile, especially one called leucine, which acts like a switch for muscle growth. Without it, your muscles remain dormant, even if you eat plenty of food. With it, they wake up, rebuild, and resist the pull of sarcopenia. This is why animal-based proteins, such as lean chicken, fish, eggs, or even Greek yogurt, are so effective. They provide complete amino acids in forms that your aging digestive system can still absorb efficiently. I have seen men transform their energy simply by choosing grilled fish or eggs at lunch instead of bread and pasta. Within weeks, their afternoons were no longer defined by sleepiness, but by steady, productive energy. The second point is timing. Why lunch? Many men assume breakfast is the most important meal, but after 60, lunch becomes the real pivot point. If you eat poorly at noon, your blood sugar spikes and crashes, and your afternoon collapses into fatigue. Worse, your body enters the evening in a weakened state, compromising even your sleep and recovery. But if you give your body the right protein at lunch, you anchor your energy for the rest of the day. It stabilizes hormones, fuels muscles, and even sets the stage for better nighttime rest. In my clinic, men who once dreaded the afternoon slump began reporting sharper focus and even renewed enthusiasm for evening activities, simply by shifting their protein intake to lunchtime. The third pillar is portion. Too little protein, and the benefits never arrive. Too much, and digestion becomes heavy. For most men over 60, aiming for 25 to 30 grams of quality protein at lunch is the sweet spot. Imagine 2 eggs with a portion of fish, or a grilled chicken breast with a side of beans. These are not extreme measures. They are accessible, familiar foods, yet when chosen deliberately, they become powerful medicine. Now let me dismantle one common myth. Many men avoid protein because they were told it is hard on the kidneys or too heavy for older men. This is one of the most damaging misconceptions I encounter. Unless you already suffer from severe kidney disease, protein is not your enemy. In fact, it is your ally. The real enemy is the lack of protein, which accelerates frailty, bone loss, and weakness. Think of protein as the bricks and mortar your body needs each day to keep standing strong. Without it, the walls collapse. Let me share another story. A patient of mine, 72 years old, had been living on bread, soups, and tea for lunch. He said it was easier on his stomach, but his energy was vanishing. His wife worried as he stumbled when walking, his arms thin as sticks. We introduced one simple change: grilled salmon 3 times a week at lunch. Within a month, his posture improved, his balance steadier, his energy consistent. His wife later told me, with tears in her eyes, "Doctor, I feel like I have my husband back." That is the power of quality protein. The fourth point is synergy. Protein alone is powerful, but when combined with vegetables and healthy fats, it becomes unstoppable. Fiber from vegetables helps absorption, omega-3s from fish reduce inflammation, and together they protect not only your muscles but also your heart and brain. This is why the Mediterranean diet, rich in fish and legumes, has been proven to extend vitality in older men. When you structure your lunch this way, you are not dieting, you are fueling longevity. Finally, let us talk about intimacy and confidence. Few men realize how closely linked nutrition is to performance in the bedroom. Muscle strength, circulation, testosterone levels, all of these depend on proper protein intake. I have treated men who regained their confidence simply by rebuilding muscle through nutrition. They walked taller, spoke with more conviction, and reported improved intimacy. This is not vanity. It is biology. When your body is strong, your hormones balanced, your blood flow steady, your masculinity shines through. So remember these truths. Not all proteins are equal. Choose quality. Timing matters. Make lunch your anchor. Portions matter. Aim for enough, not too little. Myths can mislead you. Trust the science. And synergy with other foods multiplies the effect. Each of these choices builds upon the other, creating a foundation of strength that resists the pull of time. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. But you do need to decide right now that your lunch will no longer be careless, no longer an afterthought. It will be your strategy, your weapon, your fuel. Because every bite you take is either building you up or breaking you down. And as your doctor, I urge you, choose what builds. Now we arrive at the moment I promised you from the very beginning, the revelation that ties all of this together. You already know that protein at lunch after 60 is the foundation of strength, energy, and masculinity. But here is the secret that most men never hear, even from their own doctors. Protein is only fully effective when you combine it with movement. Think of it like this. Eating the right protein is like buying the best quality bricks for your house. But unless those bricks are placed into the structure, they sit unused, stacked in the corner. Movement, whether it is walking, climbing stairs, or lifting light weights, is what tells your body, use this protein, build this muscle, restore this strength. Without that signal, much of the power of protein is wasted. With it, every gram you eat is transformed into resilience. This is why, when I guide my patients, I always say, eat your protein at lunch and then move. It doesn't have to be a gym session. It can be a walk in the park, stretching in your living room, gardening, or playing with your grandchildren. Your body is still listening, still adapting, still ready to respond to what you give it. And when you combine protein with movement, you ignite a biological reaction that slows aging and restores vitality. I remember vividly one man, 69 years old, who told me, "Doctor, I followed your advice. I started eating grilled chicken at lunch, and right after, I began walking 20 minutes around my neighborhood." When he returned after 3 months, his transformation was remarkable. His posture was straighter, his grip stronger, his confidence renewed. And the sparkle in his eyes told me the story better than words ever could. He had reclaimed his manhood. His wife, sitting beside him, whispered, "Thank you, doctor. I have my husband back." So here is my final message to you. Do not underestimate the power of a single meal. Lunch is not just food on a plate, it is an investment in your future. Each time you choose the right protein, you are choosing stronger muscles, steadier balance, healthier hormones, and more confident intimacy. You are choosing to defy the quiet decline that steals strength from men who ignore the warning signs. But I must also warn you, knowledge without action is nothing. You have heard my words, you have understood the science, you have felt the urgency. Now it is time to act. Tomorrow at lunch, do not reach for bread alone, or soup alone, or pasta alone. Choose the protein that will fuel your body. See it not just as food, but as medicine, because that is what it is, the most powerful, natural, accessible medicine you will ever have. And do not stop there. Combine it with movement, with hydration, with rest. These are the pillars that will carry you through your 70s, your 80s, and beyond. You deserve to live those years with dignity, with energy, with vitality. You deserve to feel strong, not fragile. And that future begins with the choices you make now. Let me leave you with a vision. Picture yourself 5, 10, 20 years from today. Do you see yourself leaning on a cane, limited, dependent on others? Or do you see yourself standing tall, walking with confidence, enjoying the laughter of your grandchildren, the touch of your partner, the pride of knowing that you fought for your strength and you won? That vision is in your hands. It begins with what you eat for lunch today. I want you to take this seriously, not just for yourself, but for the people who love you. Because your strength is not only yours, it is a gift to your family, to those who look up to you, to those who depend on you. Every bite of protein you choose is an act of love, an act of commitment, an act of courage. So now I ask you, will you make that choice? Will you honor your body, your future, your family, by feeding yourself the fuel that keeps you strong? I hope your answer is yes. And before you go, I would love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments below, what do you usually eat for lunch? And tomorrow, what will you add to make it a stronger meal for your body? Your words may inspire another man to make the same change, and together, we can build a community of men who refuse to let age define them. Remember, this is only the beginning. In the next video, I will reveal even more strategies to protect your virility, your vitality, and your longevity. So stay with me, because your journey is far from over. For now, take this truth with you. Strength after 60 is not an accident. It is a choice. And that choice begins today, at lunch.